behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Paul Mash TV. Paul Mash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode. We're glad you could join us. Have another great interview coming up for you in just a moment. But before we begin, if you haven't yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you're always going to be notified of any new episodes coming your way. And if you'd like to leave a comment on the comment section, you're welcome to do that. And we're on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Paul Mash TV, and you can leave a comment there as well. Follow us, send us an inbox. We'd love to hear from you there. And if you want to, you can email us as well. It's paulmashtv, all one word, @gmail.com. And if you're a band or a solo artist that wants to be on the show, you can email us and we'll show you how to do that. But we also love fan mail, obviously, so send us a fan letter and we'll get back to you. And all this is going to be recapped at the closing credits at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania today, we have Michael Botte. He's a great artist, and I know you're really going to like him. And we're going to get to that in a second because it starts right now. Okay, here we are with the interview, and with us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we have Michael Botte. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Hey, Paul, good to see you, brother. I'm glad we were able to finally do this. Yes.
Yeah, we've had some miscommunication on when to do this. I guess
it was me, not you.
Doing it today.
It was me.
Well, first of all, everyone has their own story about how they become an artist. How did you become? I guess you've always wanted to be one since you were real little. Tell us a little story about that.
Yeah, I guess if you go way back, when I was a kid growing up, I was joked that my father kind of sang more than he spoke. He was a singer, not professionally, but he was involved in so many local things. Like he was member of the barbershop quartet group. Do you remember barbershop quartets? Challenging harmonies, a cappella. He was the leader of the local church choir. He was also in a lot of the productions, a local music theater, some of the bigger productions like Sound of Music and My Fair Lady and Fiddler on the Roof. So all these big productions. And as a kid, I was fascinated by these things. So I would go to the practices. And I will tell you, Paul, I memorized a lot of the lyrics to some of the songs to, like, say, The Sound of Music. And I promise you, it did not make me the coolest kid in the neighborhood to sing those songs. But hey, man, I got over it and I made my way through. So I guess, singing, my voice was always kind of the first thing I heard as a kid. And then, guitar and playing came way, way later. But I guess it was always like the voice was, I guess, my first instrument.
Mm. Okay, well, that's a great story. And I'm glad that you found music as your instrument, I guess, so to speak. And I hope you have a few more years left in you, or maybe even a lot of years,
I hope so too, bud. I hope so too.
I know you kind of mentioned like musicals and stuff like that. Did you have any actual mainstream artists that really motivated you?
As a kid, my musical tastes were like all over the place. I mean, growing up, I guess it was more like that, classic rock, late 70s, early 80s, The Rush and, Journey and Styx and, all bands like that, Aerosmith, all those bands. And then, as the 80s progressed, as a young kid in the 80s, this whole genre of music called hip hop and rap kind of was being developed. And I kind of got sucked into all that too. So as a kid, I was all over the place. I would have Rat on, the Rat record on one side, then I'd have like, New Edition and UTFO on another side, another record, So I was a wreck growing up. My musical tastes were just all over the place. So, yeah, it was confusing, I guess, as a kid, but I just like so many different things. And my parents were a little bit older, so they even introduced a lot of like the big band, like Glenn Miller, that kind of stuff as a kid. I was fascinated by that kind of music. I can't say I listened to it today, Paul, but certainly I was pretty diverse as a kid.
Okay, well, that's what we stand for here at Paul Mash TV. We do all genres, obviously, and so that's good to be kind of all genre yourself,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, all over the place. I was a mess.
Well, somebody out there, after watching this video that we're going to show in a couple of minutes here, they might say to themselves, how am I going to get more music? Where can I download your music? Where can I follow you on social media? Let us know that.
Yeah, great question. So the good news is that Michael Botte, Botte band is where what I use for everything, whether it's Spotify or iTunes or Amazon or anything, Facebook. The only difference is Twitter because you can't have that long of a name, so it's M Botte Band. But everywhere else is Michael Botte Band. If you're so inclined to find me, I'm really easy to find.
Okay. Well, go out to your favorite streaming media sites and also the social media sites and follow him and download his music. I know he would love you for that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the song that we're going to watch here in just a couple minutes. I think it's called New Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Tell us a little story about that song.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that's actually the first song that my current producer and I, Bob Beals from Sound Foundation Studios, that was the first song we did about a year and a half ago, I guess, maybe. Yeah, it's a song about, I guess, confusion and accepting change and being willing to change. So many years ago, my wife and I were living out in the desert in New Mexico. So Paul, my spirit's a little bit wild. I've lived in all 4 time zones in the US. And at this particular time, we were living out in the desert in New Mexico and our daughter was born. And I'm from Philadelphia, Pittsburgh originally. I live in Philadelphia now. My wife's from New York. So, all of our friends and family, everybody we knew, was back east, and we were living this, life out in the desert. So we had to make a really tough decision on, where to build our life. So when I say in the line, ready to face distant horizons, stare into space at the new rising sun, that's really just me saying I'm willing to accept change, look at this new rising sun and just accept it and move forward. So my wife and I made the decision 13 years ago to come back east and leave the desert and build our life here. So that's what New Rising Sun is all about.
Oh, okay. Well, it is a great song, and we're going to watch that in just a moment, as I said. But before we get into that, Michael, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show. We'd love to have you back again sometime if you got anything to plug, and maybe we'll have another interview with you.
We do have another release coming out. So I just had a release that came out in April. That one's live right now. But we have another release coming out in July, which is very, very different from me. It's more little acoustic based, singer-songwriter, slower tempo, very, very vulnerable. This one's really vulnerable. It was written probably 30 years ago, and I wasn't ready for anyone to hear it. But 30 years it's been marinating, and in July it finally comes out.
Okay. Well, maybe around that time, maybe we'll have you back on the show.
Hey, awesome.
Excuse me, and we'll see what happens then.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And here it is, New Rising Sun by Michael Botte, and it starts right now.
Let's take a drive all through the night, rest along the way. Sometimes we feel the need to move on, sometimes we need to stay. I remember where we came from, and I sure know where we've been. This is not how the story ends, it's how it begins. Ready to face a distant horizon, stare into space at the new rising sun. Ready to face a distant horizon, stare into space at the new rising sun. Stare at the new rising sun. What do you see? Master illusion or a pure reality? Let's go get lost in a familiar place, 'cause where you are is where I'll be. I remember where we came from, and I sure know where we've been. This is not how the story ends, it's how it begins. Ready to face Let's go get lost in a familiar place, 'cause where you are is where I'll be. I remember where we came from, and I sure know where we've been. This is not how the story